The highly anticipated and gorgeous ninth studio album by British virtual band Gorillaz is finally here. Having listened to it a few times already, I'm bewildered, I'm ecstatic and sad at the same time. It really is extraordinary. I mean, The Mountain just smashes it out of the park. With a hugely impressive and culturally diverse selection of artists and instruments and production choices, all to create a cohesive and euphoric piece of art. It strikes you straight off the bat with rich Middle Eastern and primarily Indian influences. It's got remarkable collaborations, and on top of that, conceptually, it discusses life and death as a cycle. But rather than focusing on grief, it's more of a celebration of life, with glamorous production and layers of synth heavy magic, working with a formula that has worked for Gorillaz before in the past. This works wonders because it's also got a unique touch of rich diversity, which makes for an overall grand album. You know, I was a huge fan of the singles, especially the Manifesto being one of my favorite songs of 2025. It's just a masterclass of grand instrumentation, rich production, and breathtaking rapping. It carries the story and the overall sound, and it still remains easily one of my favorites on the album. Even the Happy Dictator, which is a groovy anthem about desensitization, or the brash but insanely catchy Damascus, which captured fans by surprise. Gathering inspiration from the Plastic Beach era, with my only real critique being that the chorus feels slightly repetitive. I feel like it could have benefited from more playful lyricism, like the verses have. God of Lying too, though I wasn't 100% keen on the Idols feature when it first came out, it does flow well in the track listing and it does provide a well-needed grungy edge, though I think I would have to say it's one of my least favorites on the album, but that only just showcases how great the album is. Finally, the singles The Hardest Thing and Orange County, which take you on an emotional and melancholic rollercoaster ride. This paints the vivid picture of the album's overall concept, dealing with grief and celebrating life, referring to Damon and Jamie's reconnection while they traveled through India shortly after both losing loved ones. But they did gather cultural inspirations to bring forward to their next project. So we actually unfortunately had to put down our old poorly cat earlier this week. So for me, this concept of dealing with death and celebrating life really just hits so much harder. Overcoming those challenges and just having those hard hitting notes on the afterlife really makes this truly valuable. And it's clear the amount of raw emotion and inspirational energy that went into the creation of this album. The introductory title track for The Mountain is no exception, featuring breathtaking instrumental work from a pretty impressive roster of features. With AJ Prasanna on the flute, Anushka Shankar on the sitar throughout most of the album, and brothers Aman and Ayan Ali Bangash on the sarod. So yeah, lots of Indian origin instruments to really bring the album to life. As Gorillaz venture into a Jungle Book-esque world, the melodies are fantastic. Each note of Indian classical music is refreshing, as you can tell you're entering a brand new era with exquisite atmospheric harmonies. It's just beautiful. It's a great introduction with some layered cinematic narration towards the end. And then the transition into the second track, The Moon Cave, is just so picturesque. It's immersive and glamorous, and honestly, this track is unreal. It starts off with ethereal strings with Asha Pufli, who is a famous Indian singer with those beautiful background vocals. And then 2D takes the front stage with some fantastic vocal performances from everyone, to be fair. This song is an absolute tune. It's got slick percussion and even features strings and a harp. I love the groovy bass line, and wow, that funky switch up halfway through is just pure fire. With back and forth rapping displays from Trugoy the Dove of De La Soul, Jalen Nagonda, and the Black Fort, who is brilliant on quite a few tracks on the album here. Like a butterfly, give me any, I'ma let it slide, bet you I'm like I'm in the sky, look at how I... The lyrics here are awesome, discussing transcending and looking back at one's life. It's like an experimental space between life and death, which sets the tone for the album perfectly. It features many posthumous appearances from Bobby Womack, for example, on this track here, but also Proof, Dennis Hopper, Tony Allen, and Mark E. Smith as well, which aligns to the album's theme of celebrating the tragedy that is death, but in a more uplifting and hopeful tone, which I love. I mean, it's a great idea. But yeah, The Moon Cave, it's an absolute highlight for me here. The first half has amazing singles, which then transition into The Empty Dream Machine. This one has a darker and more mysterious sounding beat as it delves into recovery from loss and dealing with grief through a support network. It again has a sitar in the background and those vocal harmonies which are just lovely. I think 2D's vocals here are sweet, though the song doesn't truly capture your interest until the second half. This is where Black Thought has a epic verse, and though it's rich and introspective, maybe it's a little bit out of place here, but the outro is groovy and super catchy with an almost angelic tone, which is very nice. And then the Plastic Guru was one of my initial highlights that really captivated me. It feels like an optimistic anthem, though lyrically it's more of a reference to those who seek fame and power rather than spreading their knowledge and wisdom. Again, inspired by Damon and Jamie's journey in India, where they met a guru who turned out to be a con artist. But I love the production here, the guitars and the synths are stunning. Really great track and one of my favorites for sure. So Delirium is a bit insane. It's about terror and destruction, smacking you out of your seat as the chorus hits and that beat drops. The late Mark E. Smith of The Fool providing humorous and outright batshit crazy additions to the chorus. It's very powerful, and actually, this was taken from, yet again, some Plastic Beach outtakes, this time specifically from Glitter Freeze. But yeah, this is certainly another anthem that will be stuck in my head, and I can't wait for everyone on tour to just scream Delirium at the top of their lungs. I think that will be very entertaining. It's a really fun track, and honestly, I feel like Delirium or The Plastic Guru could have been singles as well. The Shadowy Light is a very interesting and unique track, being one of the first here to actually feature verses that are fully in Hindi from Asha Bhosle, who is a famous and influential Indian singer. And again, recurring famous Indian instrumentalists to build this rich world of breathtaking music. This track is beautiful in conjunction with 2D's beautiful harmonic vocals in that chorus. It's quite memorable with the bridge from Reese Gruff as well. Before the euphoric and cinematic outro truly feels like you're ascending and nearing the top of the mountain. So in the second half of this album, you're nearing the peak, and again, this is a truly memorable and fantastic track. Casablanca has lovely strings from Demon Strings and 2D's vocals sounding brilliant yet again. Though it's more of a mellow tune paving the way from a grief-stricken moment to the mountain, which is a place that you can heal. Also featuring backing vocals from Paul Simonon of The Clash and also a choir, which is fantastic and does deserve a shout out because they do feature many times throughout the songs on the album. The Sweet Prince may not sound too interesting on initial listen, but if you listen closely, you realize that it's actually a song for Damon's late father who inspired the writing process of this album. Depicting themes of stepping into the afterlife, it truly does feel like a tribute track with some gorgeous cinematic production elements and gorgeous backing vocals as well. This song does hit hard if you listen to it with the rest of the album, and it does feel like the end of a journey in a way, but also the start of a new one. If you wanted an impressive and grand finale, Gorillaz really did deliver with The Sad God. That fun opening melody, it being a callback to the intro track, really is brilliant. The production also is quite striking as 2D sings of an offering to a god, again capturing that superb middle ground between life and death. Black Thought also returning with exquisite rap flows. I love all the choir harmonies alongside all those instruments at the end. It's just a great outro and a great closer to the overall vivid album that genuinely made me shed a tear. The overall experience was just that excellent from start to finish. So it seems that Damon has truly outdone himself, and yes, this is Gorillaz' best album since Plastic Beach. But is it better than Plastic Beach? I mean, it may not have as many bangers, but it will certainly stand the test of time through its rich textures, glorious production choices, and just beautiful instrumentals as well. It does have glorious concepts and inspirations, and it truly feels like Grief has brought out an extensive creative palette. Because this album is amazing, and it was a brilliant idea to bring musicians and artists from all over the world to compile this beautiful piece of work that will compete with some of Gorillaz' best work easily. It doesn't come without its criticisms, though, of course. For example, I do wish the Idols feature on God of Lying was utilized a bit more creatively or impressively, so that has to be my pick for least favorite song. Also, Damon has a great voice, so I do think there's a slight overuse of that radio-like voice filter on some of the tracks here. Though apart from that, I really did love the album, and it is such a grand and astonishing journey, with my favorites being the Manifesto still. I mean, that is a top 10 or maybe even top 5 Gorillaz track. The Moon Cave is splendid. I can't get enough of that song. It's so creative and so much fun, especially alongside that newly animated music video. I think this might be top 10 Gorillaz songs as well. The Happy Dictator was a solid lead single with a fantastic feature from Sparks as well. Orange County too, what a joyful bop with a sad theme. The whistles are so catchy, it will be fantastic live for sure. The Plastic Guru is certainly another favorite here. I love the melodies and the vocals. It's another bop. Damascus, obviously a banger as well. The Shadowy Light is a unique track with so much intense emotion. And then The Sad God, which is a fantastic outro. So yes, this album is truly insane. It is so important to have an introspective and spiritual album about mortality and the afterlife, with some of the most intriguing stories and influences. It really is true to its name as well, because this album is peak, it's absolute cinema. For that reason, and unsurprisingly, I am giving this album The Mountain by Gorillaz a strong 9 out of 10. And that may increase as well the more I listen to this album. It just is truly that amazing. So I hope you enjoyed my review of this brand new Gorillaz album, The Mountain. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of it and what your favorite and least favorite tracks were. Also, let me know where you would rank this album amongst the Gorillaz discography. I think for me, it's currently in third place behind Demon Days, obviously. And I think Plastic Beach is still slightly better, but again, that might change. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more album reviews and music rankings. That would be fantastic. And thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.